Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about why gun-free zones must be banned here in America in a brand new act of 2026, as well as discussing a recent Castle Doctrine / Stand Your Ground event that happened here in Ohio a few days ago. So basically, this all stems from the most recent preventable tragedy, which is basically you had, I believe it was over the weekend, there were a family in Rhode Island who had gone to, I want to say it was a high school game of some kind, high school hockey game. It was like a finals or whatever, and that's why it was being broadcast. That's why we know as much information as we know right now, because it was being live streamed. Multiple cameras were set up around the arena to live stream is what it was. And so you had yet another trans nutter, or a guy claiming to be trans, go in there. Apparently had a dispute with his family before this. I don't know if they just were not about him, becoming a quote unquote trans woman. And his, I think it was like 50 or something is what it was. And I don't know if that was what it was or something else for that matter. But apparently they had like a fallout of some kind. This dude walked in there, opened fire, obviously in a gun-free zone, because that's what this hockey arena was, and then proceeded to basically go on a killing spree with his own family. Ended up shooting 5 people in his own family, killed 2 of them, and then basically went and offed himself later on is what it was. I forget exactly how many it was that were dead, but it was several dead. And then including, obviously, self-inflicted gunshot wound to the shooter himself is what it is there. And it really just shows, like, this is what happens when you have, gun-free zones everywhere. You allow these fucking people to be able to go around and commit all kinds of fucking crazy psychotic insanity. And this is also what happens when I've said this before. I've been saying this for at least the past decade or more now. This is what happens when we don't lock up fucking leftist nuts, dude. We should have been forced institutionalizing people at least a decade ago. Like Trump's first administration, that's what it should have been. It should have been him being like, okay, now is the time, and we just start locking these fucking people in nut houses where they belong, to what it is, dude, for real. But instead, we don't do these kind of things as a society, and then we have this kind of shit going on, and then of course you got people attacking gun rights constantly, is what it is there. And this is the biggest problem right now, is when you have the constant tax on two-way rights and stuff like that, that is a huge fucking issue. And when people are glossing over the fact that, like, obviously this was yet another, big pharma-induced shooting is what I'll call it at this point, honestly, dude. Because I guarantee that this dude was on some psychotic medications is what it is there, for whether it be estrogen mimickers or something else for that matter, that were, throwing this dude's hormones out of whack and stuff like that. That's my guess, honestly. But who's to say he wasn't already a nut for that matter before that, honestly? And, I've talked about this before as well. Like, when you look at what's going on with our food supply, with our water supply, etc., like, look at all these hormone drugs that are putting our food supply into our water supply, etc. there, dude. Like, you have the basic shit filtered out of the water supplies in major cities, but we don't ever put the money into where we need to put it into. And so what ends up happening is they basically purify, like, the baseline stuff in what used to be pee or urine and back into drinking water in most cases in these major cities, but it's still loaded with all kinds of other stuff, whether it be, various stuff from chicks taking the pill, various stuff from any kind of psych drugs people are on that's being, peed out is what it is there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so you have this cocktail, and we've talked about this before, honestly, ad nauseum on both this chat, on Honda's chat before, where it was the Puget Sound there in Seattle, Washington. There is a runoff there of one of these factories that does the water treatment is what it is there. And there was a bunch of salmon that were caught around there. And in every single one of these salmon, there were, I think it was like anywhere from like 50 to 75 various drugs inside of them, from all kinds of street drugs, from like black tar heroin and like just weed stuff and stuff like that's what it is there, to various psych drugs, to various hormone blockers, et cetera, is what it was. and or estrogen mimickers for that matter too as well, and then heavy metal contamination too on top of everything else on that one. And then it's like, and you wonder, like, people are drinking this in their bodies is what it is there, or God forbid they're catching these fish and eating them for that matter. Like that's all one of their systems is what it is then. And it's the same thing with the food supply. When you have cattle, when you have pigs, when you have chickens, etc., being loaded up with crazy antibiotics and stuff like that, that have all kinds of excess bullshit in them. And then you wonder why people are constantly sick. You wonder why people are constantly, seems like you're going insane is what it is there. It's like, it's not that hard to figure out, dude. Like when you push back against all this stuff, you realize that there are a lot of fucking drugs that don't need to be in our system is what it is there. And then when you have people who are, openly going around doing all kinds of crazy shit, there's what it is. It's going to lead to bad things. And, this attack in Rhode Island, there was just the most recent one is what it is, where people are normalizing this shit when in reality we need to be calling out the gun-free zones this is happening in and banning them for life is what it is there. Under something like an Americans Self-Defense Act of 2026 is what it is, or something like that is what it would be called. And it basically be doing that stuff. It'd be a multi-tiered act is what it is there. The first thing would be banning gun-free zones. The second thing would be basically getting these people the help they need mentally, because they're clearly insane in most cases. And if that means forced mental institutionalization of them, that's what it means, honestly, dude. Because, and this is the problem that I have with our society right now, is we're putting up with so much of this shit for so long, dude. Like, there's a lot of people that don't need to be walking around for right now. They need to be in rubber rooms. They need to be in nut houses, getting seriously medicated because they were seriously fucking insane and a threat to society is what it is there. And the same thing goes for people that are being, repeat offenders and stuff like that, being let out by these activist black judges and stuff like that, or they're cutting their, like there was one the other day I saw where it was this black judge was talking to this black dude, and he was straight up telling her, she's like, oh, he can totally be reoffended. He's like, no, I can't be. And she's like, well, I'm going to cut your sentence in half anyway. Because he was supposed to be getting like 70 years or something for kidnapping this girl and like trying to kill her or whatever. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he sodomized her too, as well on top of everything else. And instead of him getting the 70 years like he should have been in prison for, he should have been death penalty at that point, honestly. But that's again with our society, so that's why we don't just kill these fucking people off as what it is there. But the point is, he should have been in the fucking ground, basically, is what it is there. And instead, they're trying to give him 70 years, and this bitch cut it down to 35. And it's like, what the fuck, man? It's so insane. It is so insane. And this is what I've said before, like, all these activist judges need to be removed from the bench is what it is, period. They need to be literally disbarred for life. And really, truthfully, they need to be charged with the crimes people committed is what it is already, as accessories to those crimes is what it is then. So, and then speaking of potential massacres, I don't know if everybody out there knows who Myron Gaines is. From my understanding, I believe he did the Fresh and Fit podcast is what it is. He's kind of like a Nick Fuentes type is what it is there. But he also tends to speak a lot of truth is what it is. Like, he'll basically, if it's, some third wave feminist cunt talking a bunch of nonsense, we'll just call her out like that's what it is then, for what she is. So apparently he was at, I believe this was a college campus he was at the other day. And you have this video that popped up in my X feed like an hour or so ago, where it was, black student reaches into backpack mid-debate with Myron Gaines. Myron instantly says, what are you doing? You gotta chill out. Crowd froze. Tension was real. Yeah, like, to me, this looks like this dude's gonna get, like, yeah, you can see how quick that girl, like, grabbed her shit and, like, just walked off. Yeah, like, as soon as he's going for the backpack, she just, like, grabs her shit and is like, nope. I'm guessing this is the kind of girl that's seen some hood violence, honestly, would be my assumption. If she's willing to grab her stuff and run, then is what it is, dude. But again, like, that again shows exactly why we need campus carry in this country and why we need to ban gun-free zones on college campuses. What it is there, really, in just schools in general, needs to be banning gun-free zones is what it is there, because so many of these preventable tragedies like this could be stopped in their tracks if people were able to be armed, is what it is. And truthfully, if Trump actually did give a shit about the Second Amendment or Pam Bondi or any of these fucking people, they would be championing. They would literally be the champions and championing us as a country to be a nationwide stand your ground, nationwide constitutional carry nation, which is also what the Americans Self-Defense Act of 2026 should be part of as well. That one, it should be banning gun-free zones. It should be enacting constitutional carry and stand your ground nationwide, etc. And doing needs to be done. So, anyway, there was also another thing that happened here on Friday, the 13th. For those that haven't seen it, there was, I'm going to see if I can pull it up because then I'm going to go into the whole thing because it was basically, the most recent one I found here was on Facebook. But basically what happened was you had this dude who was up in Cleveland, heard somebody outside of his house. We only know his name is Chris. He wouldn't give his last name, which I don't blame him, honestly, because he's just saying he's not going to be another target as what it is there at some point down the line. So it was he apparently had heard like noises outside or whatever, went to go outside of his house, grabbed his gun, and probably the stupidest thing from this whole thing was him being like, oh yeah, I was gonna go grab my gun to check it out, but I wasn't gonna like shoot anybody or anything like that. It's like, no, dude, like you gotta realize, like, if you're gonna stand your ground, like you gotta be willing to shoot is what it is, bro. And that's exactly why people have been firing his ass is what it was instead. Because they're doing criminal stuff is what it was. So yeah, it was your rights under Castle Doctrine. If perceived threat is on your Northeast Ohio property, then it was a Cleveland homeowner was shot early Friday morning when he opened his front door with a gun in hand, and then obviously there's him with his rifles. What it looks like, actually looks like a scoped bolt action is what it looked like in his hand there. It said, yeah, opened a door with gun in hand, attempted to scare off two suspects. He says were trying to steal his sister's Kia from his driveway. The incident, which was caught on camera, occurred in Cleveland's Old Brooklyn neighborhood on Schiller Avenue around 1:12 a.m. Chris, 34-year-old victim, asked to not use his last name, confronted the two gunmen who were wearing masks, had their faces covered, and with flashlights and walkie-talkies, as well as a getaway driver. Quote, I wasn't even planning on doing nothing, but trying to scare them away. And then it goes into Castle Doctrine, which is basically, that doesn't matter anymore anyway, since 2021. It's been almost 5 years now. It was on April 6th of 2021. We finally got stand your ground here in Ohio, which basically superseded Castle Doctrine at that point. And really, it wasn't really, like, this is the problem now that we're seeing currently in the General Assembly, is we're trying to basically enact the true stand your ground, because what passed in 2021 was a watered down version of stand your ground that was more or less an expanded Castle Doctrine, because it used to be in Ohio, even under Castle Doctrine, you had a duty to retreat and all this other bullshit. Whereas now, with the expansion of it and what is considered a stand your ground is what it is there, you now have the ability to have your vehicle be an extension of your home, your detached garage, etc. There's what it is, because that was also that wasn't covered before this. Like if you found somebody breaking into your car and you shot them, like you would be potentially, burden of proof would be on you at that point instead of on the criminal or the state for that matter to prove that you were guilty or whatever. And there's been several people that have been, jammed up and put in prison and stuff like that over stuff like that in the past like couple decades now, because they shot somebody that was they're trying to break in their car and steal their car or whatever, or they shot somebody in a detached garage, or they shot somebody outside of their property or whatever it was there that was obviously, trying to burglarize their home is what it is there. And yeah, it's a bunch of shit, honestly. So this is the problem, and this is what Democrats love to create is what it is, and especially rhinos too for that matter. They love to create victims of everyday Americans and victimize Americans, and then when we actually defend ourselves, they want to sit there and turn our rights is what it is, which is not okay. And so basically what this led to was a debate now. I found a thing on Facebook earlier this afternoon where it was this incarcerated Zanesville page that was discussing it. And as I said here, it said, shootout in Cleveland sparks debate over Castle Doctrine. Cleveland, Ohio, Friday the 13th lived up to reputation for at least one Cleveland homeowner. A violent shootout left a 34-year-old man hospitalized, and reigniting a complex legal debate over property rights and self-defense in Ohio. Around 1:12 a.m., a resident identified only as Chris stepped onto his Schiller, Ohio porch to find two masked men attempting to steal his sister's Kia. The suspects, who appeared organized with flashlights and walkie-talkies, did not flee. Instead, they opened fire on him. And that's apparently what that video shows on that other thing. We're not going to show the video because it's basically them shooting at him 9 times what it is there. Said 9 shots were fired at Chris as he stood in his doorway. One bullet struck his thigh, severing an artery. Ooh, he's lucky to be alive on that one, if that'd be the dude. So despite being armed, Chris did not return fire, which he fucking should have, by the way. Like that's the thing, right? Like, my thing is, how do you not shoot first is what it is. Like, you catch these people breaking into your vehicle, how do you not shoot first, honestly, dude? Number one. And then number two, if they're going to shoot at you, like, how do you not return fire, bro? Like, how do you not dome both passes at that point and take care of fucking business is what it is? Which, I mean, I guess I can understand, like, if he couldn't return fire because, you know, it was just a barrage of gunfire coming his way is what it is. And then, of course, if he got struck in the, you know, thigh and stuff like that, he's trying to, like, tourniquet his leg or whatever real quick so he doesn't die of blood loss and shit if it hit an artery and stuff. So it could be something like that, honestly. But again, this is exactly why you do things the correct way and you know, shoot first is what it is there. So, and the fact that it was obviously an organized crew when you had 2 breaking into the vehicle and then a third one is a getaway driver. Like, this is obviously a 3-man crew is what it is there. And it kind of makes me wonder, because I talked about this probably over a year ago now is my guess, where you had, actually maybe it was 2 years ago now I'm thinking about it, because it was back when my family used to own my mom's place is what it is there. And there was a crew up in Cleveland area there, I believe, and then like around the surrounding like suburbs and things like that, where they were faking to be cops, and it was like anywhere from like 3 to 5 guys is what it is that were doing that. And there was a couple people that actually were concealed carry holders at the time, and were also constitutionally carrying and stuff like that were robbed and disarmed and stuff like that. They had their car stolen, they had their weapons stolen, etc. There's what it is. So yeah, definitely some crazy shit, man. And as far as my understanding is, they never caught those guys. So it makes me wonder if these 3 that were part of this crew were actually part of that crew. And it's just a continuation of, you know, years-long crimes that were never, these criminals were never caught what it is there. Because it could have very well been that, you know, with it being like 4 or 5 guys in the original crew, it could have been that there was like 1 or 2 that were arrested on other stuff right now and are sitting in prison right now for various other felony crimes. And then the other 3 are maybe this crew is what it is there, or could it be, you know, different crew guys entirely, who knows? But either way, crazy stuff, man. So, anywho. But yeah, so they shot at him 9 times what it is there. He never returned fire. Said Chris was retreated inside. There we go. Yeah, he retreated inside to apply a tourniquet. A move that luckily saved his life. He was treated and later released from the hospital. So while Chris succeeded in protecting the vehicle, his actions were met with a stern warning from authorities. Although he is legally permitted to carry a firearm, Cleveland police reprimanded him for brandishing a weapon to confront the thieves, advising that staying inside and calling 911 is the only safe course of action. Fuck that, dude. Dude, I already know, like, here where I'm living right now, what the fucking police response is, dude. If something ever happens here, like, I'm having to fucking stand my ground is what it is, dude. Because minimum, from what I've seen, from when I had to call the cops on the douchebag who used to live back here is what it is several times, it took them minimum 10 to 15 minutes to get out here is what it is, dude. And you're talking about me living within city limits for that matter. So the fact that it took them 10 to 15 minutes to get a police officer out here to that dude's door to talk to him about, you know, noise complaints and stuff like that, dude. Which I'm almost guaranteeing if it was like shots fired, it'd probably be about half that probably. But still, you're talking about like, you know, at least 5 to 7 minutes is what it is then. Would be my guess there. So, you know, like, you have to be your own first responder, dude. You have to be the dude that confronts. And really what it shows me, and what I find hilarious too, by the way, is you got the Cleveland cops reprimanding this guy for trying to defend his family, defend his home and stuff like that. But yet you have so many lack of police in the city of Cleveland and the surrounding suburbs, there's what it is, that you're talking about like anywhere from like a 1,000 to 2,000 police officer deficit right now. of actual law enforcement in just that part of the state of Ohio right now, dude, where they're lacking like over 1,000 cops basically. And it's because they're paying shit wages, by the way. That's the real reason why. Is because you got all this embezzlement going on in the state from these fucking Democrats, and instead of actually spending that money where it needs to be, which is in paying, police to be police is what it is there. They're trying to pay these people shit wages and then wonder why they have no police force is what it is then. And then you're going to sit there and bitch at somebody because they're actually trying to be their own first responder. It's like, yeah, fuck you, dude. You were the fucking problem. You fucking pigs. So, anyway. Yeah, and like we said earlier, that guy said he wasn't planning on doing anything, just trying to scare him away, which, again, that brings up the legal thing about, and okay, so here's my problem with that, right, though, is even the cops claiming he was brandishing, dude. Like, dude had a freaking bolt-action rifle, for God's sakes. Like, you're not brandishing shit, dude. You can legally walk onto your fucking porch with a gun in the state of Ohio. Or any state for that matter. It's called the Second Amendment, motherfuckers. So don't sit there and tell me this guy was brandishing. Like, it's such horseshit, dude. It's just the cops trying to prove that they're a bunch of shitty-ass motherfuckers there, honestly. So, anyway. So I was trying to see if I could do something to deal with something here so I don't get things. But yeah, anyway, continues on here and said, understanding Ohio's castle doctrine, said this highlights tensions between Ohio's evolving self-defense laws and the practical realities of police work. The castle doctrine is a legal principle that grants individuals the right to use force to protect themselves and their homes or vehicles without first trying to run away. And that talks about duty to retreat and all this other stuff like that's what it is there. And then it goes on from there, basically, and like civil immunity and things like that. Yeah, it's an interesting read though for sure. If you guys get a chance, check out Facebook and the INKARCERATED, so incarcerated Zanesville page, because that was their thing about 14 hours ago is what it is there, where it discusses the whole thing. So, but yeah, like really what it shows to me is like the whole thing is a bunch of bullshit, dude. And you really just have shit-ass policing in this state, in this country is what it is there. Where they're being like, oh, we need to call 911. It's like, yeah, and you're going to have to come out here in like 2 minutes is what it is, dude. I guarantee you're not going to have a fucking patrol car out there in 2 minutes is what it is there when these guys are breaking out the vehicle. So, and then of course, like I said earlier, you got these piece of shit Democrats, piece of shit rhinos out there that are going to be like, oh, well, now you're going to go to jail for defending yourself. It's like, fuck you, dude. Like, you're the fucking problem. You need to be removed from office is what it is. For deprivation of rights and laws, what it is there. For life. So, anyway. On a completely different note, I do want to point out one thing. Which is that apparently we finally got rid of one of the OG race hustlers, race baiters, etc. earlier today, because good old black supremacist piece of shit himself, Jesse Jackson, has died after apparently a lengthy illness at the age of 84. For those who don't remember, Jesse Jackson has been one of these black supremacist race hustlers, race baiters, etc. for decades now, and has basically tried to push all kinds of bullshit. He's tried to push the anti-white narrative like crazy. He's tried to push all kinds of other stuff like crazy. And yeah, he's finally gone now. Him and Al Sharpton were the two biggest known pieces of shit back in the 80s to be pushing like basically black activism, which is what's led to the BLM terrorism crap now is what it is. And everything else like that's what it is there. So, yeah, good riddance, rest in piss, motherfucker. etc. there. So, anyway. Yeah, apparently he was hospitalized last November, following a battle with progressive neuromuscular disease, progressive subpinal palsy, a condition similar to Parkinson's disease. Okay, so he went out real bad, then is what it is. Good. That's all I gotta say about that one, man. Fuck that guy. So, and then we also had this one here. We'll talk about this one here in a sec as well. We'll go back to the thing there about Roberta. So that fucking Robert guy called himself. I do want to mention this one though. So you got Democrats call to censure Rep. Randy Fine for saying America will choose pet dogs over Muslim supremacy. Damn right we will. For those who don't know, Randy Fine was also one of these dudes who basically probably even shouldn't be in office anymore anyway, because he's one of these like dual citizenship guys who basically is like Israel first, essentially is what it is there, over America even. But he actually has done some stuff recently where he's basically just called out the Islamic terrorist scum that are on our society soil. That shouldn't be here to begin with, what it is there. And I find it very interesting that he's basically, you got these Democrats basically calling for him to resign and stuff like that or be fired or whatever over him making that statement there, when you literally had that piece of shit Ilhan Omar, who, from everything I've researched myself, her family was actually part of the regime in Somalia during Black Hawk Down. She was a child soldier during that one. She 100% was involved in killing multiple U.S. servicemen, and then was led into America after the fact, which is absolute bullshit entirely. She should have never been allowed in this country ever. And she had the fucking audacity, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago now, maybe a little bit, maybe even 4 years ago now. It was one of the 9/11 anniversaries where she was like, some people did something, and wasn't immediately kicked the fuck out of office, not of this country, which is what she should have been at that point, honestly, dude. It's like, yeah, some people did something. They killed 3,000 Americans. Your Islamic terrorist scum killed 3,000 Americans, you fucking cunt. So, anyway. But yeah, needless to say, Islam needs to get the fuck out, dude. They need to be forced the fuck out of this country by force at this point. And it needs to be a mix of like armed military and armed civilians doing it. So, anyway, going back to the Rhode Island there. Rhode Island police, a man who shot his family at ice rink went by Roberta. Yeah, I guarantee this place is a gun-free zone. Pentucket, Rhode Island Police Chief Tina Goncalves made clear the man who allegedly shot family members at the ice rink went by the name Roberta, according to local affiliate. Breitbart News reported that at least one person was killed and others were injured when shots were fired inside that arena. Fox News pointed to an ATF source that indicated the shooting stemmed from a domestic violence incident and turned into a murder-suicide. It occurred during a high school hockey game. The source said that the gunman killed his wife and shot 2 of his kids before turning the gun on himself. The gunman is reportedly deceased from something like a gunshot wound. Local affiliate identified the alleged gunman as 56-year-old Robert Durgan, noting that he changed his gender identity years ago in 2020. He went to the North Providence Police Department and, quote, reported he had recently undergone gender reassignment surgery and that his father-in-law wanted him out of their home because of it. Around the same time, dude allegedly announced his gender change. His wife filed for divorce, citing gender reassignment surgery / narcissistic personality disorder traits. So, yeah, basically she should have been armed herself at that point, is what it sounds like to me, is what it is, dude. And the crazy part is there's actually the video of it. I was watching the YouTube short earlier that I posted to Discord for those interested. If you're a part of Renee's Discord or you're part of Hana's Discord, they're on both of those right now. And I believe I also posted it to our X page as well, where this woman was basically going over everything. She didn't bother saying anything about the whole trans issue and stuff like that, which I will, because I think that's what it stemmed from, honestly, is what it sounds like. And really, it seems like this guy should have been locked up like 6 years ago, is what it sounds like, honestly, or at least 4 or 5 years ago anyway. So, but anywho, the entire point of the matter is, though, is that you had people at the arena who were some of the players on the ice rink who saw some other people get shot at, is what it was, or get, you know, injured and stuff like that, and they actually tried to run, or I don't know if it was run or skate actually, towards the people that were injured before realizing, like, oh shit, my life is also in danger. I could get shot as well. So yeah, just craziness is what it is there. And again, this is what happens when you know, ban gun places and you only have one person that has a gun, which is the psychotic shooter that's trying to kill their family. Which it does kind of make me wonder, like, how the fuck this dude even knew that they were going to be there, unless it was a situation where it was something where he was like cyber stalking them or something, would be my guess. And knew that they were going to be at the hockey game that night, which again is exactly why you don't post where your location is going to be on social media sites, is what it is there. Or, you know, any that kind of stuff like that's what it is. That's what's always bothered me about people who are like, hey, I'm going on vacation this week, or whatever the case be, and then they're dumb enough to have, like, whether it be a Facebook or whatever other social media site they have, is what it is there, where their page is public, is what it is there, instead of being a private page to only friends or whatever then. But even then, like, who's to say somebody on your friends list isn't going to be, like, you know, some piece of shit criminal or whatever, and, like, break into your place or whatever then. Or it could even be, like, a buddy of theirs, you like, it's like your Facebook page, their Facebook page is open or whatever, and it's like some, you know, ne'er-do-well or whatever that has bad intentions, just sees that shit or whatever, and sees your status update and is like, oh, well, where do they live or whatever the case be. And then sure enough, it's them robbing you or whatever then. So, yeah, no good either way. But, yeah, it just, like I said, it just shows, like, the fuckery going on in our society now is what it is. And just, again, things that could be dealt with the right way if we actually chose to, you know, enact positive things that protected Second Amendment rights in this country, is what it is there. And it starts, like I said, with locking up these fucking nuts, is what it is there, dude. So, anyway. And really, I would say truthfully, like, it needs to be holding Big Pharma accountable for a lot of this stuff, because you cannot tell me that, like, when you got these people, especially these kids and stuff like that, who are going through puberty, and they're on, like, these hormone blocker drugs, they're on these different, you know, opposite, you know, hormone drugs or whatever there. Like, of course, it's going to fuck up their brain chemistry and stuff, dude. And I would say even as an adult there, with that Robert guy, like, you could easily have it be something where if dude's taking, like, crazy amounts of estrogen and stuff like that, like, as an adult male, you know, you can't sit there and tell me that's not going to fucking put your brain chemistry out of whack and stuff, dude. So, you know, again, it's all bad shit, and this is why Big Pharma needs to be held accountable, is what it is right now for this kind of stuff, dude. Because it's all their crap that's doing this shit. When there was it was like I think it was like a year and a half or 2 years ago now, there was a study that came out that proved that every single mass shooting, I don't know if it was just at schools or it was every single mass shooting since 1990, but it was at least every single school shooting since 1990 anyway, from 1990 like 2024 or whatever, could all be tied back to SSRI antidepressants. So when you got SSRI drugs being what's causing so many of these massacres, like, yeah, Big Pharma needs to be held to account, what it is, dude. The shit needs to be yanked off the fucking markets, period, and go from there, basically. So, but anyway. Sorry, I was looking at something funny that I went back to X there for a second. I was looking at that post about Myron Gaines and that guy earlier, and as somebody pointed out in the comment section of that, the black gal who was grabbing her shit and running was, quote, the only person in the crowd with a 3-digit IQ. Or, like I said, it could very well be that she was still, you know, low IQ like the rest of the crowd, but she was just smart enough to realize, like, oh shit, I'm from the hood, and this is how hood shit starts, is what it is there. So, I think that's more likely what it is, honestly, dude. Where she's been, you know, involved with stuff like that in the past, where it's like, yeah, somebody's grabbing into a bag or whatever, and it's like, yep, nope, Get the fuck out of here. That's just survival instincts at that point. It doesn't really take, above a retard IQ or not, dude. Like, that's just you having enough street smarts at that point to be like, yep, time to get the fuck out of here. So, but anyway. Yeah, it's self-preservation kicking in at that point, honestly. But, yeah, that being said, I will be back this coming Friday for sure with what we were going to talk about last week on Freedom Friday, we didn't get a chance to, which is basically why America needs a new AG. Pam Bondi needs to get the fuck out of what it is right now and be fired completely, be replaced by anybody that's good at this point, whether it be FBC lawyer, whether it be the head of GOA, whether it be somebody like even myself for that matter, dude. Like, should I make a better AG than Pam Bondi would right now, dude? Because at least to be able to prosecute people. Now, granted, I don't know if I'd actually be qualified just because I believe in order to be an attorney general, especially at a federal level, I think you have to have at least a law degree, which I don't have. So, but that being said, what I do have is actual, oath keeping and constitutional backing is what it is there, and knowing my constitutional rights and knowing why the Constitution is so important, especially the Bill of Rights. So I'm not, some stupid fucking cunt who, when she was the Florida AG, was literally the architect of the red flag laws that were put into place there is what it is, which again should have been seeing Bondi in prison forever after that one, dude, because of having her fucking bitch ass. You wouldn't have thousands of Floridians right now be fucked out of their Second Amendment rights is what it is, 7, 8 years later now is what it is. So, anyway. But, yeah, on that note, that's where we're at for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. Always be carrying. Always be situationally aware. Always know your exits. Always know that you have to be your own first responder. And know that we are basically on a powder keg waiting to happen right now when it comes to anything from a civil war to a color revolution to anything in between. We could very well have a tax revolt this year because it's now been proven. This is something I wanted to bring up earlier. I never got a chance to, though. That there was I believe it was a congresswoman recently who admitted that 9 out of every 10 taxpayer dollars is being wasted and cannot be accounted for. So we are paying 90% more in taxation than we should be right now as a society. I'm not okay with that. I don't know anybody else that would be either, for that matter. So, yeah, it really is time to have like some kind of a knockdown, drag out, Doge style accountability at every single level, from state to local to federal, is what it is there. And anything that can be found where it's embezzlement or fraud or anything else for that matter, if it's somebody that shouldn't be in this country in the first place, they get kicked the fuck out for life. And if it's a politician, they get arrested out of office, period, end story. And we start fresh is what it is, dude. And if that means abolishing entire state governments and replacing them completely, that's what it needs to be right now. Because everything I found out in the past couple of days about the state of Ohio right now, when it comes to pedophile Les Wexner's ties to a lot of fucking rhinos in this state right now, from DeWine to Andrew Brenner, et cetera, et cetera. It's not okay, bro. These people need to be kicked out of office for life and replaced completely is what it is there. And that's why I'm seriously considering doing a Article 1, Section 2 abolishment amendment in the coming months for the upcoming election is what it is. So, anyway. On that note, though, like I said, I'll be back on Friday for Freedom Friday. We will do our regular Slicey Boy Saturday on Saturday. Got a new DC 53 I want to talk about, specifically in that one, and we'll do a comparison to the other one because it's 2 different folders of what it is right now. They're the DC 53 blade steel, and we'll probably just do those 2 only as the episodes. They'll be maybe 10-15 minutes at most, I'm thinking. And then from there, that'll be it for the schedule for the week is what it is then. unless something seriously crazy happens, I'm not going to do any more streams outside of Friday and Saturday. Unless it's like something super important. I will, as far as I'm aware, I think Honda's going to do a chat later tonight. So I'll be part of his chat at around 10ish or so tonight. If he does one, if he doesn't do one, I would say if he doesn't do one by 10:30, 11 o'clock, he's not going to do it at all then. I will just be sleeping by then, is what it'll be. So, yeah, hopefully in about 8 hours we'll be doing a chat. That's what it is. But other than that, it is what it is. But like I said, everybody needs to be situationally aware, carrying stuff with them that they need to have. And honestly, at this point, I would say truthfully, like, where you're carrying, you need to be carrying not only your firearm with you at all times, you need to be carrying a med bag of some kind with you, whether it be a little backpack thing, like a little sling bag that has, like, you know, maybe an IFAK or something in it, or some kind of like other tourniquet situation, or even just like some quick claw or something like that in there, dude. And it's a situation where it's like, hey, you know, it's all for your personal safety and things like that's what it'll be then. And if people have a problem with you carrying it, fuck them is what it is, dude. Like, be like, nah, dude, in case, like, and if they try and question your motives or whatever the case be, just be like, yeah, because I don't want to be involved in another fucking Rhode Island kind of deal is what it is, dude. So you're damn right I'm going to be carrying stuff with me that I'm going to be able to defend or save my family's lives if they end up getting, you know, shot in this piece of shit gun-free zone or whatever it is there. So, but yeah, the whole thing there. So, nothing else that should be stuff you should keep in your vehicle, though. It's like a small bag, even a bigger bag for that matter. I know I looked into Dark Angel Medical recently. I know they have a good one there. And I was actually talking to the guy that owns that in a chat the other day because he was part of that Member Hunters podcast is what it is there. And I was actually asking him the straight up question. I was like, hey, how much is that St. Mike's bag actually? How many people could that save is what it is? And he was discussing everything that was in it. It was pretty interesting breakdown. It was like multiple things of quick clot. It was multiple things of different kinds of Israeli bandages and tourniquets and stuff like that's what it is there. And I think his overall thing was it would basically depend on like the mass casualty situation, but it could be like anywhere from like 8 to 10 people that could save, honestly, depending on how bad their injuries will be. So I don't know. Like, is it worth $1,000? Possibly. So, you know, if I was definitely in a medical field or whatever, like an EMT or something like that, I can get the 20% discount on that. I would definitely take the discount is what it is. I think, yeah, I want to say it's either 5 or 10% is what they give out though for that. So, but that would still be, you know, about $900 to $800 or so, which is a rent check for me at this point. Actually, more than a rent check at that point. It's my rent check plus my water bill plus my electric bill for the month. Or they could be rent check, water bill, and then probably my internet for the month, I think is what it is. So, but yeah, just craziness is what it is, man. So, anyway. But, yeah, that being said, I'm not against getting it. It's just, you know, like, do I really need it is what it is there. I'm sure there are people out there that would be, you know, in better situations than I am that could easily afford that kind of stuff is what it is then. Or really, if you have like I would say truthfully, if you're like in a situation where you're like trying to get like a group together for like prepping and things like that, like that might be something that like the group itself, you know, throws it on or whatever then. Because the nice thing about that dude is that if you actually do save a life with the equipment that's provided in those bags, they'll do replacement for life is what it is there. So if you have to use up, you know, like 2 tourniquets or 2 Israeli bandages or a couple quick clot packs or whatever that's come in there, if they'll just replace that forever is what it is then. And my understanding is so far that guy has saved, because of his business, the Dark Angel medical kits have saved like 200. I think he said it's either 211 or 213 recently now is what it is. But it's over 200 people though. So that's insane, dude. And yeah, like 200 plus lives that's on Earth right now because of that. And that's just a guy in Colorado doing that stuff as like just one dude packing a bunch of stuff for people is what it is there. and shipping that out. Like my understanding is it's basically him and his wife that do the bags put together and then build out everything and then ship it out and everything. That's what it is there. So yeah, one man can save a lot of lives. What it is, man. But anyway. And for those interested, obviously, Nightmare Hunters podcast is tomorrow night. Their weekly Wednesday show about the cryptids, which I do want to go. For those who don't know, I do want to go out. Hopefully later this summer is what it is. I'm thinking maybe July or August now, depending on when exactly I move from this place. And I would like to take a trip to Waverly Hills Sanatorium there in Kentucky, and then do it like a dual trip where we then go down towards the Tennessee border. There is what it is, and hit up Land Between the Lakes is what it is there. And my thinking is it'll be anywhere from like a week to 10 days will be the trip itself, and then it would be myself and whoever else wants to go. I'm hoping to get like 8 or 10 guys with me potentially, or maybe like a 10-pack of people together is what it would be then. So it'd be myself and like maybe 9 of the people or whatever then. And then it would be all of us together going to Waverly Hills, checking that place out, doing some kind of a ghost / EVP session or whatever there for a couple hours. And then it would be most likely staying at a hotel in that area for the night, and then it would be the next day we would start driving down to Land Between the Lakes area and just stay down there for a few days is what it is, and then do some cryptid stuff is what it is then, and see if we can find like some Dogman / Bigfoot territory and just check out some other sites during the day is what it is then or whatever, because my understanding is there's like a creepy doll deal there out in the middle of the woods where somebody made like a crazy doll village place or whatever, and I wouldn't mind checking that out just to see if it's like because I don't know if it's supposed to be like Annabelle kind of haunted or not, but like I wouldn't mind checking that out too just to see how truly creepy it is then. And then obviously the big thing is there that everybody that would be going on that trip would be heavily armed is what it is, because there's no way that we're going into that Land Between the Lakes area unarmed is what it is, bro. So I would say minimum AR-15s, not AR-10s. Like whatever the highest caliber y'all got is what you need to bring with you. Is what it is there, with a bunch of extra mags and like a full kit is what it is then, just in case. I'm not trying to get into a firefight with a bunch of fucking cryptids or whatever, but like at the same time, like if it comes down to it, man, like we need to be able to defend ourselves is what it is. So anyway, but that being said, that's where I'm at for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll be back, like I said, on Friday, unless something like major comes up, like another crazy massacre of some kind that we need to talk about in real time order. But other than that, that's where we're at for the day. But like I've been saying, always, stay safe, stay vigilant, always be carrying, always be situationally aware, always be ready to be your own first responder and a first responder to other people if they need your help. Really, you should be carrying any kind of med with you at this point that you can, especially a tourniquet. And, I would say minimum, you should have a go bag, small go bag of some kind, with a tourniquet, and then either an Israeli bandage or possibly an Israeli bandage and quick clot if you can get both, honestly. And then have all 3 of those things together on your own person, as well as, like I said before, like your EDC should obviously include a knife, whether it be a knife with a window breaker, whether it be a knife and a window breaker, and then, your personal firearm, etc. there, etc. So extra mags, etc. for that firearm. And then, some kind of a flashlight and pepper spray or OC spray or something like that, what it is there. So, But yeah, other than that, though, that's where I'm at for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace out, stay safe, and be back on Friday for Freedom Friday. And I'll be back, like I said, hopefully tonight with Honda and Company on eHonda 4200's channel. So, till later. I'll see you guys then. Bye.